And let's begin to discuss some things that will help you through the next few weeks. And it's about denial. Denial is something that humans have used to cope. And healthy parts of denial is when you like take the leap of faith and you go for it and you're like, I don't know how I did that. You know, so that ignorance and that denial is serves you. It's a positive thing. But the dial of denial moves. And I've worked with the dial of denial for the last 20 years. And there are two sides of it that I don't work with. And one is where the fantasy of what you want to do is not really the vision. And because you're not putting the actions towards it. So it's really just a fantasy that keeps you going in your life, but then anger sets in later because that thing didn't emerge. And the other place of denial that it's just not my lane, is you cannot shift what you won't admit. Yeah, you cannot shift what you will not admit. And that's why I work with a very special group of people that have expanded and expanded and expanded over the last 20 years that realize that when you admit, I know what it is, Patty, I know what it is, then they get giant shifts because we're working in the subtle energy. So what I wanted to do today is talk about when we say something is just like what happened the other day at the Capitol. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. And I think that is denial. And in some cases it can be a healthy denial because there's a lot going on. You have a pandemic, you have your kids doing Zoom classes, you've got maybe someone in the hospital, maybe you've lost your business and your job. But I want to give you another option, right? I'm not about don't do that and not giving you an option. And the reason why I say it's unbelievable is many years ago, I used to go to the Holocaust Museum every Tuesday morning for something I was working on. And the Holocaust Museum in Los Angeles on a Tuesday morning had always a survivor and speak. And I always bumped into this lady who was in her 80s, and she would talk to young people. And she would always start her stories with, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And the kids would be on their phone. And they'd look at her and they'd go back to their phone. And I said to her after one of her great talks, where she was talking about her sisters and her family, of what it was like for the Nazis to come into her village in Poland. I said, you know, I think you should stop saying it was unbelievable because the kids can't relate. They're not connecting. I says, and I think you should start with it's believable. And imagine if, and then put it into context for them. She was like, great idea. So she did that. So I think what we have to do when things are shutting us down is to say they are unfathomable. I can never say this word. Unfathomable. Because fathom is depth. It's like when you shut down. So when you say something is unfathomable, it's like, I know a lot of you know a lot of balance where you go for a hike and you go for a walk and you do your thing and you do your practice, but you're getting probably very tired after just a normal hike, right? Because you're trying to process so much of the different video that is coming out now, because it's what you were saying before, unbelievable, but it's, you have to believe it, right? Or you shut down. Because if you say it's unbelievable, you're shutting down from reality and you're having to shut down. So what I want you to see is, it is believable that this is happening, but it is unfathomable that it's happening if that's what you want to do, right? If that's the way you can wrap your head around it. Some of you might not need that it's unfathomable, but I need you to stop saying it was unbelievable, and that will help you from shutting down. Because I think a lot of you are taking naps after just going for a hike, or eating and going for a nap, because that's you trying to process so much going on, right? Your consciousness, not you're aware of the fringe, right? You're aware, but consciousness is a different thing. And I'm teaching it to the kids right now, and I'm going to do a whole thing on consciousness and awareness, because they are very different. And we came up with some great examples for the kids to understand it, and they were like, oh yeah, I totally get that. But right now I just want to stick with, you stop saying things are unbelievable, right? Just that they are believable. Whether you don't like it or not, just be like, wow, that's believable. Because there is footage that you can look at. So believe it. Don't say it's unbelievable. Believe it. Be like, okay, this is a lot to process, but I have to believe it. That is why the witness is so important. When Greenpeace used to go and watch people, kill whales and kill dolphins and things, they were there to be the witness, because when people are witnessed, it makes them conscious. And we have heard that. We've heard from some people that went there and got swept up, and they said it was the worst decision of their life. Well, it didn't need to be that, because because they didn't have the consciousness or the awareness to process what was happening, but they were in it. And we have to hold that space that it is believable, and we have to believe it, that it's happening, that it's always happened, and look at it and not look away. But to do that, you're going to have to raise your own consciousness to be able to process, right? To be able to not look away and be neutral, because the witness is important. Even in our own life. Because that's really when people come to me and they say it was really unbelievable what happened to me as a kid. And I'm like, yes, but we have to believe it. And we have to process what has went unprocessed for you to shift it. Or it sits in the basement of the subconscious, waiting, dictating the whole energy of the house. So over the next week or so, I want you to be like, okay, this is believable, it's happening. It's unfathomable, but it's believable. Now what? Right? Now you don't have that battle going on inside of you that it's unbelievable. So I hope that helps. And I want you to, let's do like a meditation. Just to kind of see that, let that wash over you, right? Let that really wash through you, over you, and fill you up. Like there's no resistance anymore from not believing it. There's no, I think that it's too much for me to believe. So I want you to take a nice deep breath and be like, yes, this is all believable. Right? Just all of it over the last 5 days. So believable. Now we're present. We're not trying to get out of the present. We're not trying to pretend it's later in the year. Even with the pandemic, it's all believable. That I have to be here, right now. It's all believable because everything's rearranging. It's a changing of times, a changing of consciousness. It's like there's a new voltage coming through. And doing what you need to do to adapt to that new voltage without blowing the fuses in your temple, in your house. Going with the upgrade, being accepting these times of everything happening simultaneously, things being exposed very quickly, very easily, all the corners of our consciousness being cleaned out, all the fringes, being redrawn. Old ideas, old constructs, old systems that cannot go where we're all going. Accepting that. And I'm sure you've even felt that with certain things in your jobs, with some people in your life, where you're going now, certain things cannot come, certain ways, certain patterns, certain mindsets, certain vibrations and energies. They're not sustainable any longer. Take a nice deep breath. Gently open your eyes. You know what's not sustainable anymore? Moaning. People that moan with no action to make things better. And if you're listening to moaners, you're also enabling the moaning. And I said to the kids last week that what I was teaching, or I said to one of them, it's going to be in the next part of the book. I says, isn't it fascinating? And I heard it on a hike earlier around the reservoir. Grown-ups know what they don't want. That's their chant. You know what I don't want? You know what I don't like about wearing this mask? You know what I don't. But they can never tell you what they like, or what their vision is, or what they want their vision to be, or what they are choosing. So I think going into this next, we're not out of the year of the rat, by the way. That's why I didn't write anything about the year of the ox until February's newsletter. The year of the rat, this last part is, well, it's quite apparent, isn't it? Everything's getting ratted out. Rats, you know, the expression that rats jump the sinking ship. They'll actually gnaw through anything, including their own legs. So, we're in the last throes of the year of the rat. And we go into the year of the ox, and the ox is the plough, the plower, the workhorse, the thing that shifted us from hunter-gatherers to agriculturalists to farming. So it was a huge shift for us as humans. And starting this age of Aquarius with the year of the ox, I think is quite significant. Because, you know, it's not really new to any of you on here that work with me. Like, I'm not interested in what your gripe is. Or, you know, what you've become glib about. I'm interested in what you're going to do and what you are frightened about doing. What's your scaries? What's your blind spot? What have you become aware of that you were in denial of? That's where we go. Like, what's the solution? What are you not addressing? What are you unaware of that you're too scared to admit? That's where I get my joy. I think it's much more exciting to excavate that in a place of safety, a real place of sanctuary, a real place of sacredness, that you can go to that place without playing games with your therapist. Oh, you don't know that happens? Or that I know? Yeah, I know. I don't do it, but I have 3 therapists that I can send you to if that's what you want. Because I'm the person that you want to shift the stuff with, not unpack it with, or, you know, keep the narrative going. But I also respect people's temperature, but they're not cooked yet, to let it go. So remember, you cannot shift what you don't identify. So there is healthy denial, and that's the place of, oh my God, that's so big, I can't do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that ignorance is kind of bliss, that you didn't know it was going to be that big, right? Or you didn't know the amount of obstacles that were against you, but you went for it anyway with the faith of your conviction. But then there's the other denial that keeps you stuck, keeps you stagnant, and keeps you then, as you get older, you get bitter because you think the world is stacked against you, because there's been no excavation, there's been no identification of the limits that some people put up for protection and then imprison them. And the responsibility of this is your work to do, and but there's that aspect of people who are, well, why should I do it? Because it's yours. It's that we feel entitled for other people to fix us, when we can go on our own journeys, our own hero's journeys, and call in the people that can help us shift things. But ultimately, you have to, and that's why I call people that I work with participants, because you're participating in your own journey. And that's what makes it empowering, right? So thank you so much. It was good to see you all. Oh, Lyrica said that the ox has powerful lungs in addition to being powerful. So it's a good year to be going into. And someone else has asked, do you pick up in other people's energies by standing next to them? That's like saying to a fish, to the other fish, you're drinking my water. There's nothing to pick up. It's not about, unless, energy is permeating everything. It's about being in your own energetic field and knowing that you are swimming in a field of energy, and untangling your energy and having your own energetic integrity. Always good to see you, all of you. Thank you.